This is still your darling radio show, Mental Health Show with James Oshuntogun. You call me MC Jerry J. And on this week's edition of Mental Health Show, we'll be talking about Down syndrome. Down syndrome. Down syndrome. To help us with the topic today, we have Mrs. Balogun Cordelia, a professional of mental health, a special educator, and an advocate of child mental health. You're welcome to the show, Mrs. Balogun Cordelia.
Thank you, James.
Yes, it's awesome to have you on the show today. Before the show, we had some discussions about mental health, and it's been awesome to have you interested in the show.
Thank you.
Okay, without wasting much of our time, what professionally is Down syndrome?
All right, thank you, James. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning to everyone listening to us live. My name is Balogun Cordelia, your favorite special educator and child mental advocate.
Wow. So I was asking, what professionally could we call Down syndrome?
Okay. Down syndrome is a genetic condition which a child is born with an extra chromosome 21.
Okay.
So the question is, what is chromosome 21? Chromosome 21 is DNA material.
Okay.
Okay. It's a genetic DNA materials. Well, for a layman, you might not understand that part, but for our medical practitioners, they are conversant with the terms and they would understand better.
Okay.
So,
well, we don't need to go too much in depth, especially because of its professionality when it comes to genetics itself.
Yes,
so let's just talk about it as simple as possible, so that people at home could actually understand it. As a matter of fact, many of the victims, in fact, many of them, as long even as we speak, as associated with people who have this issue, many of them are not even medical practitioners.
okay.
Yeah, so let's find a way to speak about it without having to go in depth into the genetic part.
Okay.
Yes.
So like I said, this condition affects infants.
Okay.
It happens during conception or at birth.
Oh. Okay.
And this condition can't be cured. It can only be managed.
Wow.
So what happens is this. Once a mother is pregnant and she attends the normal antenatal process, and she wants to know the condition of the child in her, there's a test that can be carried out to know if the child is a regular child or a special child with Down syndrome. This Down syndrome, the process happens when the chromosomes are not normally or properly distributed into the cells of a child.
So it's more like saying it's an abnormality during the genetic formation of the fetus in the mother.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. So once this child is being given birth to this condition, automatically the child is 4-5 years backward from the normal child without this condition.
Oh, so you mean for everyone who has this condition, the person already has a retrogressive pattern already?
Thank you.
Based on intellectuals and the physical looks,
the mental, the physical, the reasoning, everything that has to do with the developmental milestones.
Wow.
Then most parents won't know, or they won't figure out. Even we who are practitioners or who are into this field, we don't we don't get to differentiate the child from a normal child. If from day one to, let me say, okay, when the child is 5 years. It is when the child starts developing, and we begin to notice some developmental milestones that this child is supposed to. The pattern the child is supposed to follow. We notice that this child isn't following the pattern.
For example, there's your instance.
Yes, from 0 to 5 months. The child is supposed to be crawling. Then you notice this child is just stagnant. Child is not moving. It's still normal. Then 9 months, this child is still not crawling.
I think one of my nephews is not a patient of Down syndrome actually, but he never crawled. All of a sudden, we just saw him working. Like it was becoming a cause of concern, but he never crawled.
Well, in that aspect, anything can cause this. Not necessary. If a child, it's possible the developmental milestones of the child, it's possible is slow. But that does not mean the child is having Down syndrome.
Professionally, what are these processes or developmental milestones that we would be expecting and we won't see in a child that would make us say this child has Down syndrome?
Like I said, not in all cases. Some children just have delay in doing all these things. But once we start seeing things like 2 years the child is not talking, that is way too abnormal. 3 years the child is not even blabbling, or she is not even saying anything. Anytime you talk to the child just nod. He's not saying anything, and it's not as if the child is having hearing impairment. And even at age 5, the child is still maybe crawling.
Wow. Live in the studio, we have Mrs. Balogun Cordelia, and we're still dealing with Down syndrome on your darling radio station, GMP Bliss Radio. This is Mental Health Show with James Oshuntogun. Mrs. Balogun Cordelia, you were talking about tests during pregnancy.
Yes.
This test, is it a normal routine during the antenatal, or it's a special test that you need to request to take? That's my first question. The second is, when this test is done, can this issue be averted during pregnancy?
Thank you. Well, for standard hospitals, you don't need to request for it. There are normal tests that are supposed to be carried out to know the state of your child, to know the kind of child you'll be giving birth to. So when this happens and we find out that the mother is having this kind of child, child with this special condition, what we do is, well, I'm a Christian, and I wouldn't want to go talk about abortion because the Bible kicks against it and God frowns at it as well.
I think let's stay professional, irrespective of religion, because for example, we have listeners all across the world. I was looking at the frequency of listeners as at the last show, and I was wowed to see several people from several parts of the world where we have different rules and regulations as regards what you're talking about. So I think we should speak professionally, not
bringing religion into it.
Yes. Then we would also treat the impact of religion on many of these things later. But let's stick to being professional right now.
So like I said, it's a normal test for standard hospitals, and of course that is being carried out during antenatal to know the kind of child you are carrying. And once we figure out that you are having this kind of special child, we talk to our patients, let them know you'll be having this child, educate them about the condition, what comes with it, the ailment that comes with it. And if the mother is still, or the parents are still willing to keep the child, good and fine.
Okay.
Strictly on them.
And if they are not willing to keep the child,
if they don't want, we'll do evacuation for them.
Evacuation could sound very outrageous, even in the professional field. And also, just like you earlier said, based on religion and culture. But then, at what age of the fetus do you think evacuation is still acceptable or safer?
Trimester, the 3 months process, during the 3 months process of the pregnancy.
Okay, you mean the first 3 months?
Yes.
Okay, and if peradventure we have a listener out there who has not even done this test, and then needs to do it at probably 6 months of pregnancy, 7 months, 8 months, what would you advise?
He or she can go ahead.
Okay, with the test?
She can go ahead rather with
better.
the test.
Okay.
But then, evacuation is late.
It's late?
Yes.
Okay.
For the 6 months, 7 months. So what we advise is this. Once the child is being given birth to,
okay,
we recommend therapists,
okay,
who will take care of the child, irrespective of the child condition. The child can still live and have a meaningful life like a normal, regular child.
Okay.
Therapies like special educators, social therapists, physical therapists, vocational trainees.
Okay.
Yes.
So, the name of the test is amniocentesis, right?
Yes.
And amniocentesis is used to diagnose testing, used most commonly to identify the chromosomal problems such as Down syndrome in pregnancies, right?
Yes.
So if you need to take the test, you could just walk into any of the diagnostic laboratories or any of your hospital facilities and request you want to do a CVS, and you would get this. So thank you on that, Mrs. Balogun Cordelia.
You're welcome, James.
Aside all this, now we're talking about evacuation.
Okay.
Is that the only remedy to Down syndrome? Because what in the first place, if the parents are not having it, what do you think will cause the genetic disorder in the first place? Before we now start talking about, okay, now it has even happened, and then we're not thinking about the whatever processes come after it. What do you think is responsible for the genetic disorder in the first place? Is it food? Is it lifestyle? Is it? Please just enlighten us on that.
Okay. Even doctors can't ascertain that this is the cause of this thing.
Okay.
So the thing is, it could be from genetics of both parents. It could be anything can cause it, but for now we don't have a particular thing that causes this disorder in a child.
Oh.
Like I said earlier, this chromosome 21, there's a way it's supposed to be properly distributed into the cell of the child.
Okay.
And the acceptable one is 2, but once it is more than 2,
it becomes abnormal.
And there's no way you could say this is the cause.
Okay.
Just a normal I don't know. It's a normal